Hey, hey, ho, welcome back to another episode of Rubber Suit Reminisce. This time we're going to talk about the just recently ended, that's the worst way I could have worded that, but that's just how it happened, Uchuu Sentai Kyuranger. I actually haven't done any Sentai talking much when it comes to Toku on the channel. I did a little bit in the Toku introduction video just because that sort of required me to talk about it, but I haven't done I haven't done any individual talking, mostly because compared to Rider, my Sentai experience is pretty limited. At the time I made that video, I'd seen Kyuranger, Go Busters, Aba Ranger, and I'd seen most of Zyuohger but hadn't finished it. I have now. I think that was probably it, actually. And I haven't seen much more since, but my resolution this year was basically just to watch all the Toku and stuff that I had started last year, so you're going to get a lot more Toku this year than last year. I'll try to keep anime stuff also up, but because I'm watching more Toku and also Doctor Who, which I'm slightly breaking on because of burnout, because of that, I'm really only currently the only anime I'm really currently watching is like the currently airing stuff. So at the very least, you'll get seasonal wrap-ups when it comes to anime, but a lot of Toku. And like I said, we're going to start with Uchuu Sentai Kyuranger, because that just finished. For Kyuranger, a lot of people were really looking forward to it when it was announced, because we knew pretty soon after the trademark was filed, and after we got the actual announcement for the team, that there would be at least 9 members of the team, which is quite a lot considering I think beforehand the most we had in a Sentai was Kyuranger, which had a lot, and I think even still by the end of Kyuranger, I feel like Kyuranger has more, but a lot of them are side characters. Kyuranger has the most of a base Sentai with 9, which, you know, had a lot of people looking forward to it because they've never done that before. And when it aired, a lot of people were still pretty, thought it was pretty good, but over the course of its airing, it's gotten a lot more divisive. You have a pretty, I think, equivalent amount of people that are like, yeah, Kyuranger's pretty good, and people that aren't really big on Kyuranger, which is fine. Personally, though, I tweeted about it, but I liked Kyuranger a lot. Maybe it's because I have sort of lower standards, not really expectations, but just lower standards for Sentai because it's meant for a younger audience. But honestly, I feel like a lot of the issues that people attribute to Kyuranger don't really exist, or at least didn't bug me. The big ones are that Lucky's annoying. He says YOSSHA LUCKY a lot, and he doesn't really. In the beginning, yeah, he says it a lot every episode, which is fair and annoying, but pretty quick they start letting up on it, and he does it maybe once an episode. I think in the second half of the show, the most he does it in one episode is in the last one, and he only says it 2 or 3 times. Every other episode, it's usually once or just twice per episode. And there are episodes where he doesn't say it at all. I feel like in the second half, Balance said it way more often than Lucky did. But, you know, fair. I guess I get him saying it a lot is annoying. And the other major issue that people have cited is lack of character development for a good chunk of the team, and I don't think that's true. Most of the Kyurangers get their own individual episodes to develop them. You don't get a lot of development, but this is Sentai. It's a show for like 4-year-olds, and so I think your standards have to be like, you have to equate your standards for this. Because I'm not watching Sentai for amazing storytelling. I'm not watching it for deep, compelling characters. I'm not even really watching Rider for that, so I'm sure as hell not watching Sentai for it. But every Kyuranger gets usually at least their own episode, and if they don't get an episode, they get little bits and pieces throughout the show. I'd say there are only 2, not even 2, there's really only, oh no, yeah, 2. There's 2 Kyurangers that don't really get a lot of focus throughout the show. Garu really only gets his one episode, and that's the episode that he's introduced in. And Kotaro, I think his name, he's Koguma Sky Blue. He also really only gets his first episode for development, and then that's it. But everybody else either has a couple of their own episodes for development, or they have it sprinkled throughout the series, like Raptor. Raptor, as far as I can remember right now, doesn't really have her own individual development episode. Most of hers are about developing relationships with other characters. But her own personal development happens throughout the show. She starts off very kind of reserved and nervous about herself, and then by the end she's a lot more outspoken and kind of snarky and actively beats the hell out of Shōrōnpo a lot. But yeah, personally, I didn't really feel like any of the Kyurangers are really bad characters. They're kind of basic, sure, but again, it's Sentai. You're not gonna get complex characters most of the time, and even some of the best Sentai have lacking characters. Jetman, which is one of the most popular, and still, if you ask around, is pretty much considered one of the best. Only 2 of its members matter in the actual plot. The only 2 Jetmen that matter throughout the entire show and that really get any steady development are Red Hawk and Black Condor. Everybody else just kind of exists and no more. Yellow Owl has a couple decent episodes, but he's not important really in any capacity. So this is not a thing that is unique to Kyuranger. It's just kind of a Sentai thing. Granted, I still feel like you have a decent argument for it feels a bit crowded with all these characters, because there are a lot, and it kind of does feel like some of them don't get used often enough. Which I'll give you, there are some that just don't feel like they do a whole lot in general. But nobody, I feel, is ever ignored when it comes to just getting their own episodes or development. But those are kind of just the major issues people had with Kyuranger. I guess I get them, but I don't agree, and I don't particularly think that they're there for the most part. And unlike a Rider show, I can't really go. I'm not really going to go into deep plot details, because there's not really a deep plot to talk about with Kyuranger. Beat the villain fair. Sentai has always been pretty simplistic like that. If you don't like that, fine. But I'm alright with it. It's a good breather for when Rider gets insane, as it has been lately. Which you'll see in the build video that'll come out a little bit after this. But I think when it just comes to Sentai, I enjoyed Kyuranger a lot. It's not one of the best. There are plenty of others that I like more. Abaranger and Gekiranger and Kyoryuger come to mind immediately. But you could do a lot worse. You could be watching Ninninger. I feel like Jetman is worse than Kyuranger, personally. And I liked Jetman a lot, but I think it's... I think it is... I didn't enjoy it as much as Kyuranger. If I have one major issue with Kyuranger, it's that the final arc, its last 6 episodes or so, feel pretty tacked on. Episode 43 feels like it should have been the end of the show. In fact, they don't play the opening in that episode, which is usually something that's specifically with Sentai now, because Rider sometimes just doesn't play the opening in random episodes. With Sentai, not playing the opening is usually a thing that is reserved just for the finale, and that episode certainly felt like a finale. It feels to me like they wrote that, and then realized, oh wait, we still have 6 weeks left of episodes to make, and so they had to hastily write an extra plot to fill it out. And it feels, like I said, pretty tacked on. A lot of everything just kind of comes out of nowhere and isn't particularly satisfying. That said, I think the last episode was pretty good. I think it wrapped up that final arc as well as it could. And I liked the 2 years later, what everybody's up to now bit. Plus, there's just a lot of standard cool finale moments in it, like everybody attacking or the theme playing while Lucky rides a meteor, which is the greatest thing I think I've ever seen. And then there's also, like, just seeing everybody transform. Good stuff from the finale. I thought it was a pretty solid episode. There are a couple moments in the last arc that are also pretty like there's I don't remember if this happens in the last arc or if it happened before it, but Lucky almost is about to be killed, I think, by the villain, by Don Armage. But the Shishi Kyutama, the one that he uses to transform, it just happens to be in this pocket above where he is stabbed, and it protects him from the thing. That's a little bit, ass pulley, but again, it doesn't really destroy anything. It's just kind of like, that seems unlikely and kind of dumb, so I'd put it as more just a complaint than anything else. Really, I don't think I can say much more about Kyuranger. That's sort of it. I think it's gotten a bit of a bad rap. I understand the complaints and kind of see them, but I don't agree, really. I liked it. A lot of its issues are overblown, and a couple of them are present in other Sentai. There you go. It's one of those things where I feel like if you're going to complain about it in Kyuranger but not in anything else, either stop complaining about it in Kyuranger or bring it up in other things. It's a thing that happened in with Kamen Rider Amazons Season 2. A lot of people were complaining about some of the stuff that's in that, apparently forgetting that those same issues exist in Season 1, but nobody complains about them in Season 1, just in Season 2. But this video isn't about Amazons. I enjoyed Kyuranger. I think that if... I don't know if... It's a hard one to recommend just because of how divisive it's been. I would say if you're interested, still give it a watch, but just know that it's about a 50-50 on whether or not you like it. It's a bit crowded. There's a lot of characters. If you thought Kyuranger had too many characters, and granted most of those were like side characters that weren't necessary for the major plot, but still, if you feel like Kyuranger had too many characters, or Kyuranger, then I feel like you'll probably think that same thing in Kyuranger. Go into it cautiously, but personally I liked it, and I would say it's worth a watch. I can't guarantee everybody will like it though. So that's about going to do it for this video. If you enjoyed, then you can subscribe, and hopefully YouTube will tell you when I've uploaded a new video. They are not good at that lately though, so alternatively, you can follow me on Twitter, where I always post when I upload a new video. And usually, if you use the actual like mobile or the actual desktop site, usually I have the most recent video as my pinned tweet. I forgot to do it with the last video, so that was a genius move of me. But usually the most recent video is my pinned tweet. If you want a more reliable way to know when I upload new videos, you can follow me on my Twitter, which is linked in the description, and you'll also get sort of tweets just about what I'm watching and or playing and or anything, so you kind of get a, if you care, sneak peek of what I'm going to be working on and what I'll be doing videos of. So there you go. Also in the description is my Patreon, which I don't like to talk too much about really, because I feel like I'm begging for money. But right now it's just kind of a tip jar, so if you want to give $1 or $2 because you like my content and want to support, then you can, but you don't have to. It's just a thing that's there. And then if you've missed some of my previous videos, or you're new, then on screen right now are two of my last ones. On the left is the last video I did, which I don't know what it is right now. You'll find out. And then the one on the right is a surprise to me. I'll pick it when I upload the video. That's all for now, and I will see you guys next time.